Well, hello everyone. This is Robin Carter with Robin's Creations. Today I want to share with you how to use my cut files on my Etsy shop. So if you have purchased this file, thank you so much for purchasing, and I will be showing you exactly how to use that in Cricut Design Space, and if you have a ScanNCut in Canvas Workspace. So I also know this works with a silhouette. However, I do not own a silhouette machine, so I'm unable to show that. You may want to follow along with the Cricut version and see if the silhouette software is somewhat similar. In this video, I'm going to share you tips of how to save paper by making a full sheet of these cut files, and some things you can do to manipulate them, and how best to get your cardstock value, because cardstock is getting expensive these days. So I'm going to do the Cricut part first. So if you are only a Cricut user, you may want to skip, after I'm done with the Cricut part, the ScanNCut part, which I'm doing second. So if you are only a ScanNCut person owner, you may want to skip through the Cricut version. And then after both of these demonstrations of my full screen computer of how to do that, I will return back to my desk space and show you how to use all those wonderful cuts we create. So join me at my computer and I'll show you exactly how easy it is to make these. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, everyone, we're here at my computer so I can show you how I make my cut files for things that I put on my Etsy shop. And I'm going to start with the Cricut version. So it's probably one of the popular machines out there. You can do these with a silhouette. Now, I do not have a silhouette, so I'm not going to be able to walk you through the software of that one. But maybe these tips with Cricut would help you as well. You can see here on my screen, all I have is the saved cut files, like from my Etsy shop. Sometimes they are zipped, and if they're zipped, you'll want to right click on them. These aren't zipped, so it may not give me the option. Usually there's a unzip option when you right click on the zip file. These were small enough that I didn't have to zip them. As you can see, when you click on this one, that is the ScanNCut file. You can kind of see by the little brother symbol here. This chrome looking one, if you double click on it, it's going to show you a picture. It came to my other screen. Let me bring it over here. And so that shows you what the cut file is, but that doesn't do you a lot of good. It's just showing you what they look like. So you can see I did name these files SVG, so you knew these were an SVG file. Okay, so now we want to go to our Cricut Design Space, and hopefully this comes up to the home page and not something I was working on earlier. I was having trouble with my mic dropping, so I'm going to keep looking to the right, and if it drops, I'm going to try to know for sure. I did Google, not Cricut Design Space. Sorry about that. Cricut Design Space. Now, it's an app on my machine. Yeah, I believe it's free to download. I don't have any paid subscription with Cricut. I just do the free one that you can download with your machine. Okay, good. It came up to my account. Make yourself an account if you don't have one. And you're going to click up here in the upper right is New Project. So click on that. And then I want a blank canvas. So click on Blank Canvas. Okay, so that does give us our blank canvas. And to get our cut file in here, you want to go over here to the left where it says Upload. So click on Upload, and then you're going to upload an image. And then you can either go to your file that you have open here, like in File Explorer, and you can drag and drop it, or you can manually browse to do that. So see here, you can browse, and it'll bring up your filing system in your File Explorer, how you do that. I didn't want that. Cancel. So I'm going to bring back up my folder where I have those saved, and just drag and drop the SVG file there. And you can see it shows the images. Sometimes they're a different color. I wouldn't worry about that. It should work fine. Then just say continue and upload. And that brings our images onto the canvas of Cricut Design Space. Now you can see here, I go to drag them, and you're like, I want to work with each one individually. So what you'll want to do is right click anywhere in that and say ungroup. Then if you click off on the canvas somewhere, you can then work with each one individually. So the first thing I would recommend that you do is create your negative images that go in your stamp positioning tool. So you're going to want to leave a little bit of space so you can cut around them and tape them down. Now these are the skinnier ones and these are the fatter or leaves more white space around your image, I guess I should say. My favorite is less space, but everyone, you can do what you like best. So I'm just going to put those like that. Now, if I go to make this right now, I'm not going to save it. You might want to save yours, but I'm just going to don't save. What Cricut does is it puts them where it thinks it saves the most paper. I'm going to change my paper here to 8.5 by 11. And well, that's good, except we want enough space so we can cut between them to put in our stamp positioning tool. So let's cancel and let me show you how to do that. Okay, so what you'll do is left click and drag your mouse to select them all, and then right click here and we're going to attach them. Okay, so they're attached. Now when we go to make, you can see it saved the spacing around our images. And it looks like that will cut on an 8.5 by 11 paper. So that's good. That's a little dramatic spacing. You might want to use less. When I make these, I sometimes don't use my expensive cardstock. I use some cheap cardstock that I've had for forever to make my negatives with. But if you're using white, you can use these labels to test out your stamp of how you have it positioned. And I'll show you that after I get through all the computer work. All right, so I'm going to continue, and hopefully this connects to my machine well. And I'm wondering if when it connects to my, this is my second time because earlier, for some reason, my mic dropped. Okay, so it did find my machine. And I have bookmarked some of my favorite cardstock. And let me show you how to do that. You go here to Popular and then Browse All Material. Now, I have 3 saved, and that's by just clicking this little flag here. Like you can just click that and it then would save it to your bookmark. I'm going to unclick it because I have my 3 favorites, 100 pound, 80 pound, and 65 pound. Now I don't know the full details. All I know is your paper weight is better defined by your GSM number. So this 65 GSM and another 65 cardstock could be a different thickness. But like I said, I have found these work best for all my materials. So I'm going to say done. And then when I go, well, it selected the heavy. So I think I have to cancel the whole thing. I don't think I can go back. Yep, cancel. All right, let's go to continue again. And see, now you don't have to worry about changing your paper size because it's going to cut it right there within 8.5 by 11. And that's probably why I don't mess with it, because I always attach them. Let's let it connect to my machine again, because what I find is the basic white paper cuts best with this value 65 GSM. Now, if you go to cut and your machine doesn't quite cut all the way through, see this pressure default. You can click on that and say more. Or if it's cutting through your mats, which hopefully it does not, you can say less. So just know that that's always there. So you can pick, I'm going to say default for now. And then it should be going to your machine, load your paper on the mat, and then your little Cricut button is blinking for you to hit that to cut your paper. So do that. And then you want to test them in your stamp positioning tool. Yes, I want to cancel this cut. Now let me show you what you do if you want to make a whole bunch, a page full of these Cancel again because that's in the cut page. And you don't want to waste that much space. So let's click on these again. Let's detach them so that we can work with them individually. Click off somewhere, and now you can work with each one. Now I know automatically I like this size. So let's get rid of these bigger ones. If you like the bigger ones, the same thing works. You can get rid of the little ones. Okay, so now if I go like this and tell it to make it, here's a simple way. Of course, with this, you have to select your paper size. And it does a pretty good job of conserving your paper. Another thing you can do is see up here in the upper left is project copies. Let's say 10, and then apply. Applying will undo manual edits, and that's okay. Just say apply. Of course, it doesn't save my paper. I have to go back and click my paper again. Now, it takes it to 2 pages, which just know that that's your first cut and your second cut. But look at this wasted space here. You could easily get some more of these up here and probably get it down to 1 page. But again, this is the easy version, and depending on the cut itself, you could waste a whole lot more paper. These are pretty symmetrical, so they don't waste a whole lot of space. So let's cancel, and let me show you what I do to manipulate them to save more paper. So I generally line them up here until I run out of, because these are 8.5 high, right? Or our paper is 8.5 wide. I don't want to put it that close. So I'm going to run these over because I don't want to go past this 8.5. I can then align them to the top, and then I can start duplicating those. And I unselected them. Let me move them over a little bit. And let me just, I'm going to show you a trick with these. Then you can select them all, duplicate again. Now, of course, you can do this for as many of these as you want. I'm going to show you with these 4 here. So generally what I do is I center these. One's going off the page, or I would do a line on the left. These I'm going to align on the left, align, left. Same with these. And same with these. All right, mic's still going. That's good. I went through this whole thing and realized my mic had quit earlier. So I'm keeping an eye on that over there. Okay, and then you can work with these and do the same sort of thing. Okay, of course you would not leave that much space. Oh, I forgot to show. Let me show you with these label ones. So that's still quite a bit of space between those. I'm going to take this last row, move it up a little bit. Well, that was probably too much. And then I'm going to select just this left one and say align, distribute vertically. And then do that for each one. Distribute vertically. And you can see it puts equal spacing between each one without you having to move each one individually. Okay, so that's what you would do for that. We're going to do the same thing with these. Let's duplicate some of these. Now, the reason I'm doing this is you may want to save this so that each time you're not having to come in here and just distribute these. But like I said, you can always do that one where we said how many copies. I end up cutting quite a bit of these. So I like to go ahead and do the work, save it, and then I'm good and done. Let me go back to my easier method of doing that. All right, select these, align left, and let's align distribute vertically. This one, I know I've got a lot of space, so I can align left, align, distribute vertically, and then of course this last one here. Didn't quite grab them, did I? There we go. Align left, align, distribute vertically. Little too tight there. I like to leave a little bit of space. Let's give it a little bit more. And align, distribute vertically. Okay, so now let's go ahead and delete this one because it's hanging down. You know, you could put in an 8.5 by 6 sheet of paper and get this cut. But if I go to make, it's going to do its own distribution. Click your 8.5 by 11 paper. And it's going to make its own. But if you cancel and go back and attach these, so select them all, right click, and then say attach. Of course, I would fill in this space to go ahead and make more to not waste that space. Then you can say make. And it saves them all how you laid them out. Of course, I go ahead and make a full page so that I can make a whole page at once just by duplicating and aligning those like that. And then, of course, you can then save your project. And I'm just going to say video, save. And then when you go to my account, go back to my stuff. And there you can see that file here on the upper left that we made. So it does save it. Let me just show you on this one how it doesn't save the paper as much. So let's customize. And, oh good, it got rid of the other one. Let me unattach these, detach, and just say make. So see how it does each one individually with a whole lot of space, and it would take me 2 pages to cut all that. So let me cancel. So that's why I've made my own file here where I've attached them and then click make. And so it's going to put them all on that sheet of paper. So I hope that explains why I make my own. And like I said, I can go back, and since I have those in my stuff right here, I can then select those and I don't have to make them every time. So that is the Cricut part. Cut your files, and after I get through doing the Brother ScanNCut piece, I will show you how I put them in my stamp positioning tool. So you can skip this next part if you do not have a ScanNCut, but let me go ahead and show it as well. So let's cancel the Cricut design space, and let's open Canvas Workspace. Now there is an app to this. I tend to use the browser version, so let me open that. Canvas, oh, it's called Brother, I think. Brother. It should show up because I use it all the time. Canvas Workspace right here. All right, let's make this big. Log in and remember me. I always just X all this other stuff. Okay, so here you're at your basic Canvas Workspace for your ScanNCut machine. So I select New. Now we need to get our cut file over here in the software, and even though it's not an SVG, you can open up the SVG in Canvas Workspace, but for some reason it doesn't come out true to size for my cut file. That's why I include the FCN file. So we're going to select SVG, choose your file, and I need to go to where I saved it. Let's 2025 Mountain Majesties, cut file, video, and right here you can see is my FCN file. So select that and open. Even though it's not an FCN file, I mean an SVG file, you want to select that SVG. Say OK, and it easily brings those here. Now, I don't believe Canvas Workspace has a thing like Cricut did where you can select 20. But you would do the same process as far as making your cut file, just moving these around so that it fits on your size paper. That didn't leave a lot of space there. Okay, for your negative image. Of course, when you cut that, you want to download. And then you'll say to your machine. I have my machine wirelessly through Bluetooth, or it may not be Bluetooth, just wirelessly. You can connect your machine directly to it, or you can save it and then take your disk to your machine. If you have questions about that, let me know. I think what you would do then is download, save it to your computer somewhere, like maybe a flash drive or something, and you could title it, and then you can stick it in the USB port in your ScanNCut and get it that way. I like to do it through the browser. Okay, so now that you have your images, actually I'd probably move that one a little away so you had more place to cut. Now that you have your negative that you're going to use in your stamp positioning tool, we need to make a full sheet of these. So again, my preference is to go with these skinnier ones. You can save whichever ones you like or make a combination of each one. And then I'm just going to move these. Now there is no ungrouping and all of that that we have to do to make it stay where we want it to cut. It's going to cut right where you put these images. Let me save some space. I right click them all, duplicate, and if you catch it before, you can move them all just like that. And I just then select to get a bunch of them on here. While it's still in the little blue dashes, you can select the whole thing and move it down. Otherwise, it doesn't. You select one of them. And I generally just undo it and reduplicate it. It's much easier than selecting each one. Now, there is no distribute horizontally or vertically, whichever that was, like there was in Cricut Design Space. You just have to manually move these up. There is a left and right and center. Now center puts them kind of all on top of each other, so you don't want to do that. And let's just say that is good. Well, this one's touching. So generally if I have one touching, I move them all down so I don't have to move each one. And you make, and so you'll do the same process. Of course, I would fill this up to a full 8.5 by 11. Now, over time, you may want to start cutting and putting your paper on the right-hand side of your mat just to get more use out of your mat. And just know, it's hard to see here on the computer, but your mat, there's like a 300 millimeter mark, and so you want to make sure your paper is at least to there. It doesn't have to go all the way to the edge. You can, you'll just it doesn't cut anything past this 300 millimeter. So, and it would give you a red warning like when you go to download it. Let me just show you that. If I do that, it's going to say, oops, your project cannot be downloaded. Some shapes extend beyond the cutting area. So what that means is you have an image past that red line there. So keep it all within, download it, send it to your machine, then upload like we did with our negative space, and you'll have a whole page of cutouts to use. Okay, so here I am at my ScanNCut, and I'm just going to show the monitor for now because that's basically all the stuff you need to do. So I have sent my cut file to my ScanNCut. So to pull that up wirelessly, you're going to say retrieve data. Well, actually, either way, you're going to say retrieve data. If you put in a USB in your machine, you will use this one. If you're pulling it wirelessly from Canvas Workspace, you're going to hit this little cloud pocket thing. I don't know what that pocket stands for. All right, click that. And as you can see here, I did work on a full size sheet of cardstock to cut some labels for myself. So the next thing you're going to want to do is put a piece of paper on your mat. Okay, and as you can see, I pulled mine way over to the right side. Like I said, you can kind of alter where your use your mat both left and right. I'm going to put a little piece of washi tape on the corner to help hold it down, and then I'm going to see if my images are going to fit on my piece of paper. And to do that, you click this button right here, and you'll hear my machine pull the mat through. It's scanning my white sheet of paper I've put on my mat. Now this next part is probably going to be very hard for you to see, but how I can tell if it's on my mat is I hit edit and then I zoom in here, and you can zoom in one more time up to 400 because white is very hard to see, but I can see my white paper kind of ends right there. And don't hit these buttons, it'll move your stuff on your mat. These will move your view of your paper. I realize this is very hard to see, and yes, my washi tape is way over on my paper, but I can see that my image is going to fit this piece of paper. Let me scroll down to the bottom, see if okay, and there you can easily see where the bottom of my paper is. So it looks like that's going to fit. So you can then say okay. Now if you need to delete some, you can either do it right from that machine, or you can move over or delete some. Okay, so I will set okay, and then you're just going to say okay again. Keep saying okay until you get to here, and then you'll select cut. So that's all there is to it as far as getting your cut files on your ScanNCut. So I'll meet you back where I show how I use my stamp positioning tool to use all these nice little cutouts we've made. All right, see you there at my crafting desk. Hi everyone, now that you have all those wonderful cuts, let me show you how easy it is to use those. So I need to switch to my hands down of my desktop to do that. Now I'm going to be using my Stampin' Up! Stamparatus, which sadly they are no longer able to sell. This will work exactly the same in a MISTI, and I do have a MISTI from way years back before my Stamparatus came out. So I'll just show that and give you some tips of how to use that as well. So let me switch to hands down, and I don't know why, if I did an update on my software here and my screen looks a little orange. So if I look a little orange, it's not me. It's the computer. Okay, so here is my hands down here. Now the cut files that you just made may or not be this month's kit. So the ones I demonstrated was from May of 2025, Mountain Majesties, and I already have those done. And you can see here I had quite a few extras, and I just go ahead and stamp them with a neutral stamp ink color like black or navy, so that I have those when I want to use them. And I store those in with my stamp set, so that if I go to need one of these sentiments, I know I already have some stamped already. But today I'm working on my June kit, so I thought I'd best show you that kit. Now you may have a whole bunch of cuts, like I have a pile here, and I keep those in a little plastic envelope, which is what I call my favorite things. I keep them in this size. It's 5 by 7, and if you're new, or not new, if you've seen my YouTube alternative cards, you know that I use these to store the card components that I'm getting ready to share. Okay, so also this is part of my favorite things, and my favorite things will be in the description box of this video. You can visit my Amazon storefront and you'll see my favorite crafty things, and then there's also some favorite household things I thought I would share that I find helpful just day to day. Okay, So this is a 3-ring binder divider that you're able to write on and wipe off. So I use that in my Stamparatus, and why I do that versus just stamping on my deluxe mat is the Stamparatus has different plates, right? And you can take them out, reverse them, and I have a sheet made where I'm using this stamp or February. I'm still not done with February. So this allows me to just take these off and then put in the one that I'm currently working with the plate. Now the Misty, you don't have that option. Excuse me. So here's my old Misty that I've had, goodness, for probably 15 years or so. So I don't know if it's this color still, but the Misty, what I would recommend you do is purchase this, and I'm sorry, my magnets broke. So I just use the bits and pieces here and there. You can hear them snapping together already. I purchased this, I think it's called a mouse pad for the Misty, and that way you can put it in here and you can stamp directly on this and then wipe it off. So you would do the same things that I'm getting ready to share on my ScanNCut, or not ScanNCut, on my Stamparatus. You can do the same thing with a Misty. So let me just put this under, as I already have my stamps here to share. Now, let me put the magnet somewhere where they won't collide together. Okay, so this is my June kit, like I said, and this works for any of your cuts that you've done. I take the stamp, and let's just take this one off. Okay, and this is the Let's Celebrate You. Now, also in my files, as I shared, you get 2 sizes, sometimes 3, depending on how useful they are. And I have them both lined up here, but that's the bigger one. I like the smaller one. That's just me. So I'm going to take off my negative. And from that first sheet that you cut, you'll want to kind of take your scissors, cut around the negative image so that you have a usable space to put on your stamp positioning tool. So all you have to do is put your stamp somewhere where you know it's going to work well. Now in the Stamparatus, they recommend not using it within this first inch, at least next to your plate, because just the hinge itself, it has a hard time getting a complete impression down. So let's pick that up, and excuse the fact that there are stamps on the other side of this plate. I'm just picking up that sentiment. Okay, and then you're going to get your ink. I'm using the Pretty Peacock that came in the June kit. And then just stamp right on either the deluxe mat, or if you have this 3-ring divider thing on it. So there you can see the impression. I hope that's visible to you on the camera. And then you take your negative and you want to just set it around where you think it's the best centered. And I think that looks pretty good. I look for equal distance, top, bottom, left, and right. Now, if you use this thing, just know before you stamp, you always want to make sure it's in the corner. Okay, and then you hope you get it right the first time. Sometimes it takes a little trial and error. Put your cut piece in the negative, ink it back up again, and let's cross our fingers that it's pretty centered. Give a second for the ink to absorb. And sometimes if you want to make sure you got it, you can press on the back as well. And there you go. A sentiment nice with a nice easy bordered cutout. So I did get lucky, got it done the first time. If you're new to this, no, it may take you a little bit to take those up and make some more, but the good thing is you can make as many of these as you want. And here's like the Miss You from that same kit. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Let me switch back to myself. I hope this was helpful to you and you enjoy your cut files that you purchase. Check my shop every so often, or give it a favorite, and I think it gives you an email notification when I load something new. There's lots of goodies on my shop, so I hope you enjoy your cuts. And if you have any questions, be sure and leave those to me on my Etsy shop. You can send a message that way, and I'll be sure I read those and try to get back to you as soon as possible. So thanks again, everyone. Bye-bye.